Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Healing and Dealing podcast. Today, I have Elizabeth with us. She is a self love mentor who helps women let go of the need to be perfect so they step into who they are and their authentic, true selves. Hi, Liz. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited that we're here together. Liz and I met through Quantum Ripple Effect. We did the coaching certification together, and yeah, it's been what, 6 months?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's been
About
a
I think we ended in July, right? June, July.
yeah. It's been six
Yeah,
months and we're both like doing our own thing now and testing the waters and really just, getting comfortable in our own spaces. So I've been following you on Instagram and I'm like, okay, you need to come on and share your beautiful story because I feel like so many women are going to connect with, especially the self-love piece and really like all the transformation that you went through from, the years before up until now. So I'd love to just hear your story and you can start wherever you think is important. If you want to start, really young, that's fine, or just when it all started kind of becoming challenging for you.
yeah. I guess, um, I guess it was always kind of challenging, for myself, but I didn't really realize that until I actually graduated college.
Okay.
And I, sorry, my dog is being annoying. I'm trying to like kick him. But I guess like after college, I was in a relationship in college, and then afterwards we broke up, and then all of my stuff really came up for me. I didn't really know about this world, or I wasn't in like a healing journey and none of that. But what really came up for me was I would I would sort of chase. Like I was something, it wasn't like the first time this ever happened to me, but it was just like the big moment where I was like, why does this always happen to me? I remember feeling like, I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm nice. Like,
Hmm.
why is it that I always am the one who's like always chasing after things and chasing after boys, and
Hmm.
also like not feeling good enough, and I'm always feel worthless, and why is that? And so after about like 4 months, after I realized, I actually stumbled upon my like a coach, and I didn't really mean to. I just kind of like stumbled upon her because I just really wanted to figure out why. I kind of had
Hmm.
like enough of the story of like not being good enough, and I wanted to change that. And really, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to create um, a relationship that worked. So I was like, I need to. At the time, I was like, I need to fix myself, and there's something, must
Hmm.
be something wrong with me. So I need to figure out what it is. And I remember I met this coach, and I that's when I really discovered actually what was coming up for me started a long time ago, and actually started when I was, a child, and that's how I always just was, and how it was coming up for me for a reason.
Hmm.
And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, and I just fell in love with learning and discovering who I was for the first time, because then I realized that I spent my whole life. So, yes, it started after college when I discovered this journey, but my whole entire life, I actually had no idea who I was. And I just abandoned myself like all the time. And I
Hmm.
was just the girl that everybody else wanted me to be,
Hmm.
whatever that was, which for me was like the perfect girl. Like, I always was the good girl and never cursed. And like, even now, like, I honestly think it's something I need to heal through, but like, I don't curse like
It's
ever,
okay.
because it's something that's like programmed in my brain of like not to do, because
Mm.
I'm the good girl. And like, um also had to have a certain body type, and like, and not that my parents ever told me that, but I was always praised for looking a certain way.
Mhm.
Like, wow, she looks so skinny, or oh my gosh, look at her, she works out all the time. And like, so I always was just, I just did it.
Mhm.
And so I had anxiety all the time and I felt very trapped. And that's when after college and when I started my own healing journey, I was like, I want a relationship where I can be myself.
Yeah.
And like, but I didn't know who that was.
Mhm.
So I went like 2 years of just like being with myself and learning like who is Elizabeth? Because I just don't even know who I am at all. I've just been what everybody else wants me to be.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I got here. And I was like, oh my gosh, how great is it for everybody else to also know about this too? Because
Mhm.
now we're all probably people who are walking around not actually being who we are.
Oh my gosh.
But like
100%.
we are just who we're programmed to be. And what if we actually discovered who we actually are and not just abandoning ourselves?
Can you say that one more time? That last part, we're programmed. What did you say?
Oh yeah, I said that we're just people who are programmed. We're just like what we're programmed to be, like how we are conditioned to be. That's just who we are, but that's not actually who we are.
Right.
So like I just feel like that's not actually probably who knows. I can be like just like a girl who probably love to curse all the time. Who knows? But I don't actually know that because I was always programmed. I learned that it's really unladylike to curse. Like that was always like programmed in my head. Like that's like gross and like
Mhm.
that's like it's like almost down upon. So I just don't do it. And
Yeah.
like so I'm like, what if I'm actually, like that is the real me is a girl who like kind of curses sometimes. Like I don't know, that could be. So like, but
Yeah.
we're always just what we're conditioned to be.
Right. I think that's so huge for you to hit on because it's so true, right? Like, especially that first 0 through 5 years, we're just taking in all of our surroundings and trying to figure out like who we are and who we're supposed to be, and everything that's around us is what shapes us, you know? So I just have to say, like, it's probably just not who you are to cuss. If you're still not cussing and you've done like all this healing work, you're probably just not a cusser, you know? Like my husband
Yeah.
I don't like my husband cusses so much. I'm like, you definitely like this is just who he is, you know, like he's just someone like that cusses. And it sometimes it drives me crazy, but I'm like, okay, this is who he is, you know, I can't change it. So I've tried to like, get him to cuss much less and it's worked a little, but I definitely cuss, but it's not like I don't know why I'm like going on a tangent about this. I just think it's funny that you're still saying maybe I am a cusser, but I in my opinion, like, I don't think you are, or else you'd be cussing like crazy now that you found yourself.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I guess not, but you know what I mean? Like it's really interesting. I'm like, I always learned that it was very like not ladylike. And
Yeah,
like so certain things translate into like,
that's
oh,
true.
like I don't do that. Or,
Mhm.
certain other things like just, being polite and being very like,
Yeah,
you know,
people
I was
pleaser,
yeah,
perfectionist, all the things that little
yeah,
girls are told to be when they're young, you know? Like, perfect
yeah,
example is, my friend's daughter went to 6th grade camp and she was told she told someone that she was gonna kiss a boy, right? And she told that person, "I don't wanna kiss him though." And they were like, "Why?" And she was like, "Well, I don't wanna upset him." And so it's like, it's already starting, you know, like she's 10 years old and she doesn't wanna upset him, so she's just gonna people please and kiss him before she's even ready, you know? So like that thing all of those things that
yeah.
happen to us when we're little girls is so very real. Did you grow up in a conservative household? Like, were your
You know what's
parents?
funny? I actually didn't. My parents, it's interesting because how do I put this? My parents are not actually very conservative. It's almost like I don't know if it's like my mom even if she like wanted me to be different than
Mhm.
her. Like I don't know if she
Oh.
wanted me to be Like,
Yeah.
how do I put it? It's almost like if you don't like certain aspects of yourself, and you then tell your daughter not to do what you do. And like,
Mhm.
because she like drinks, like, I'm not like judging her in any way. I'm just saying, like, she's like, she's like a partier almost. Like, she drinks. Like, I don't even drink. So it's
Wow.
like, I'm like almost like, it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
And like, and I'm in my brain now as an adult, I'm like, Mom, didn't you do these things? Like, who are you to? But it's almost like, maybe I'm like, maybe she didn't want me to be
Yeah.
like, I don't say like her, but kind of like, she didn't, she wants me to be the perfect girl and try
Right.
her best. I'm sure as a parent, I mean, I only have a dog, so, but I can even see tendencies with myself. Not that my dog's going to be perfect, but
Yeah.
like, I see certain tendencies of like, you want to, always watch them and always want, to be the best, and like,
Mhm.
and it's like in all good intentions. But sometimes I think it's a little too much pressure. And
Right.
I think it's always good intention. Now as an adult, like, I see them, like, it's all out of love.
Mhm.
But even like, my mom was always very like hard on me, like, very a lot of pressure. And like, if I didn't do well, like, if I didn't succeed at something, she was very like, she would act like very mad at me, like,
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
like disappointed. Like, she would tell me like, you sucked, like that, that game. And it's out of love, because you can do better. It kind of then is like, but it has an effect on your child. So,
Absolutely.
right. So then as you grow up, you're like, oh, like, then that voice that you tell yourself is actually, like, I always say to people, I'm like, that's not actually yours. Like, that voice that's like, you suck, or like, why did it take you so long to do this? Or even with your body, like, oh
Right.
my gosh, like, you look horrible. Like, it's not actually your voice, and it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the question is like, where did it come from?
Oh, that's so good. My coach right now asks me that all the time. She's like, "Who told you that?" When I say
Yeah.
something, she's like, "Who taught you that? Who told you that?" And I'm like, "Where did that come from?" And then you have to go way back and you're like, "Oh, now I know." So, yeah, that's so interesting. I love thinking about that. And even now, like with like what you're saying with your own kids or even your pets, as you're saying, you project that onto them. You know what I mean? And so it was so great. Like yesterday in my coaching session, we talked a little bit about this, and it was like I'm trying to give my daughter what I never had, but it's not what she needs. Like her needs are
Yeah.
totally different, and she doesn't understand like what I needed was totally different or opposite of what she needs. So it's just so important to remember like your story is separate and it's not, and your mom's story is separate, and like all of our stories are separate, but it's crazy how much it just affects us. Like that tells me so much about why you went through all of that, because you did kind of have, even though she had the best intentions, she knew you could do better. It's still the approach and the way it was brought to you is probably painful for you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now looking back again, it's always, out of love, but also I have to, I guess, like, I had to be the parent that I never had
Yeah.
at that time. And not
Absolutely.
saying that she didn't do a good job, because she always did show up for me, actually. So, but I have to be like the loving, caring, like, learning to be kind to myself.
Yeah.
And I know it's like for a lot of people, we have parents who are hard on us in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about, like they say, like reparenting, like really just being like giving yourself that love, that
Yeah.
like, right. Let's say you look in your mirror and you're all this, you're self-critical. Instead, like, do it differently. Like, how can I do it differently? Like, be gentle to yourself, like, it's okay. Like, talk to yourself like you would. I always tell people it's so, I guess, awkward when I started my healing journey. How I talked to myself was like how I was spoke to. So when you do like inner child, I was not so tender and nice. Even when I was doing it, I was like, all right, like Elizabeth, like it's all right, like it's not a big deal. Like I would talk to myself, but it wasn't like how you would if you saw like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like I was still like the tonality of my voice was still like a little harsh, like, all right, like
Mhm.
it's all right, just kind of get over it. Like,
Yeah, suck it
and
up.
my coach was like, yeah. And my coach was like, Elizabeth, like, no, like, I actually want you to sit on the phone right now and like talk to yourself like how you would if it's like a child.
Yeah.
Like in that, like, oh, like mother soothing, like, it's
Mhm.
okay. So now when I like tell people to do that, they're like it's awkward, but I'm like, no, but it's true. Like,
Mm,
like love you, like be
yeah,
gentle to yourself. And I just feel like we as people are just so hard on ourselves. We're like just mean to ourselves
yeah,
almost, like with
for sure.
everything. And so like even now, like, I didn't do that much this week or this past month. And instead, like my voice is like, Elizabeth, like you're behind, like you didn't accomplish that much, like, you're falling off track. And instead of like, no, 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 it's okay. Like you're moving, you have
Mm,
all this going on, like it's all right. Like, you know,
I love that.
you have a lot going on. Like, it's okay. Like, you'll get it tomorrow. Like, it's all in seasons or whatever. But, like, just kind of being gentle to yourself and
Yeah,
being kind to yourself instead of having that high expectation. And when you do, asking yourself, like, where did this come from? Or who told me this? Like, where did I hear this from?
that is such a beautiful reminder. Like you just felt made me feel like all warm and fuzzy inside. Just even the way you said it, you have such a gentle, kind voice that I felt like you were talking to me. I'm like, oh, I feel so great right now. But
Yeah.
such a beautiful reminder because we are so quick to judge ourselves. We're so quick to be hard on ourselves. And having that compassion, we have compassion for other people. We have, you know, we can look at other people and be kind, but when it comes to us, we're like, wait, what? I have to talk to myself like that, or like it changes everything when you can just have a little compassion and gentleness and curiosity and really just, allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to not get everything done. It's okay. Like you can pick back up tomorrow or rest. I used to have such an issue with allowing myself to rest without feeling guilt or like
Yes.
irritated with myself. Now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna rest and I'm gonna enjoy it and it's going to feel good. Like I have permission. I give myself permission to do that. It's such a difference.
Yeah. And I think because I think even just today's world, like society in general, like we're always, I even see it online, like on TikTok or whatever. You
Mhm.
see like 5 a.m., like there are little timestamps, and it's like everyone's always doing something. And then you're like, oh crap, like I just woke up. Like it's 7 a.m. Like I just woke up, and it made you. That's even was my I was creating my TikTok page to be was just like, man, like what happened to just being like a human being? Like,
Yeah.
like just being human, like instead of like all the wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, eat your matcha tea, and like
I know.
doing all the things like your 7-step skincare routine, and like just like
You're
it's just
so
like,
right.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, you don't do that, then you're like, it's just you feel like crap. Like you're like, oh my gosh, like all these girls are doing this, this, and this. Like, what am I doing? It's like
Yeah.
what's happened with just being like a human being and just right, like not doing that or not being it. They called it like the it girl. Like there was like an it girl
Mhm.
thing. And instead, it's like, why can you just be yourself? Like
Mhm. That's
not
huge.
not the it girl that's like in today's right. It's like almost all in today's society stuff, like of
Yeah.
being that girl. And it's like, why can we just like not go to Pilates and like just
Yeah.
like be a normal human being for like a day.
And you know what? I wonder about that it girl too, because she probably has the same exact feelings, the same exact thoughts, you know? She's just
Yeah.
trying to keep up too, especially with social media. There's so much pressure, like you said, to do all the things. And I just gave up on that shit. I'm like, I cannot keep up. I'm not even like the only thing that I ever look at and it kind of like does something to me are vacations because I want to have more vacation time. Like I want to travel more. So whenever I see that, I'm like, oh, I wish I was vacationing right now. But
Yes.
I I'm sure like subliminally and subconsciously it is going into my brain and I'm like, okay, there's a reason why I feel like I should do certain things. It's because I'm seeing it somewhere else, you know. Oh, I should, wake up at 5 a.m. and do all of these things because, yeah, I'm seeing it on social media, I'm seeing it in movies. But yeah, we could go down such a rabbit hole on this because it's so, so true. And now it's starting at such a young age, that
Yeah.
even my daughter who's 8, like she thinks she should have all of these things when it's like you don't need any of this. Like none of this matters, and trying to teach her that it's a challenge, and when that's all that they know is this new generation is it's really hard to show them the other side and like what my childhood was like especially. But I want to just
Yeah.
kind of dig in really fast to a few major things that you went through, once you started this healing journey for yourself. And, you know, what were the big breakthroughs that you had? Going from a people pleasing, I'll be whatever type of girl you want me to be to make sure that you're happy. And then really just discovering like, wait a second, this is not who I am. I'm not being authentic. And finally coming into Elizabeth, like what have been your big breakthroughs?
Yeah. So I remember I always tell everybody this story. I remember it so vividly. But I remember when I was first starting that journey, and at the time my coach was like, take out a picture of, who you were when you're little and just look at her
Mm-hmm.
and just like kind of like feel her essence and like kind of what she has to say to you. And I remember I haven't taken we don't normally do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
haven't looked at a picture of me when I was a little girl. So
Yeah.
I remember the first time, and I was 22 when I did this, maybe. So in like 22 years, I have not looked at a picture of me, like really sat with it and
Yeah,
like looked
yeah.
at for myself. And I remember I did that and I just cried. And
Wow.
because I realized the first biggest breakthrough I had was, and I know I kind of mentioned it, but it was so like, I was like, oh my gosh, like I realized like how much I left who I actually was to just be in a relationship
Wow.
and be loved. Like I realized like, oh my gosh, like I remember like looking at her and being like, I failed like this little girl, like I failed her because I left her. And even though it was a hard, like I just cried because I just felt so like I just left me. Like I just was so, and like I looked at her and I was like this sweet, innocent, like
Mm-hmm.
precious little girl. Like I was been so mean to her and just like kind of didn't give a crap about her to just be loved. Like that
Yeah.
was all it was for. And by people that like don't really matter. Like it was all for
Mhm.
just approval. And so that was the first real big breakthrough that I had. The second biggest breakthrough I think was just learning how to be with myself, which was really difficult. Like
Mhm.
just being with me and learning what that's like. Because after just being single, I've never actually did that before. Like
Yeah.
I never just sat with myself and hung out with myself and like enjoyed my time, like not
Yeah.
just like on my phone and sitting with myself, like actually enjoying the time I had with me. And so I remember one day I was scrolling through Bumble actually because I was like didn't want to be alone. And I was only doing it for that reason. Like I was only doing it like not because I wanted to date somebody. I knew in my head, like I was like, I don't care about getting to know these people. I was like, I just want something to do this weekend because I don't want to be alone.
Wow. Wait,
And
is
then I had
Bumble
like,
a dating app? Is Bumble a dating app?
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
the
that's what.
Bumble's a dating app. And yeah. And so I was just kind of like, I was just wanted to do something that weekend and didn't want to be alone because I had so much anxiety just like being with myself. And
Wow.
so I remember the one day I sat there, it was like a Friday night, and I was like, this is the exact problem, Elizabeth. Like, you can't be with yourself. Like, you're only doing this, you're so afraid of like being by yourself. And
Mhm.
so I made a decision. I was like, I deleted the app. I said, you know what? I'm not even gonna even bother going out with somebody. Like, I'm just gonna hang out with myself like every weekend. And if it was like my girlfriends or whatever, but like that's it.
Mhm.
And at the time, my girlfriends had a boy, like they're all dating somebody. So it kind of happened in that time period. So I was like, this is your chance to just be with you. And then I
Mhm.
remember I made a decision to go to Europe by myself because I was like, I didn't think I could do things on my own. So
Mhm.
I was
That's
like, this is
awesome.
your like, your yeah, your thing that like, like you could do it. Like it was after like 2 years, like I've been doing this for a little while. So I was like, let me travel by myself and like be with myself and like have
Mhm.
fun with her. And know that I can also do things on my own, like travel, like figure out transportation, like not
Mhm.
needing somebody. Cause I
Yeah.
always I guess the biggest thing was needing everything outside of me
Yeah.
and like needing the person to keep me safe, needing somebody to make me feel loved and give me that validation, and needing the person to like, always needing these, and I mean just relationship wise, but just like everything, like needing everything to make me feel
Mhm.
good about myself.
Yeah. All
And
these
instead of learning,
external things.
yes, yes, like all the praising and all the love and the
Yeah.
safety, like depending on, and it actually translated to my relationship. Well, my now I'm married, but when we started dating too, like it all translated into that
Mhm.
also. And so just learning how to actually give that to myself
Mhm. Yeah.
and not needing that external validation that I was always kind of searching for.
Yeah, I can connect with that 100%. I feel like I could have said everything you just said myself because I was so much like you um before, I started doing all the healing work that I've done over the past couple years, always looking for external validation, always looking for safety in someone else. And then you know what song like really got me was Adele, To Be Loved. Do you know that song?
Yes, yes,
Okay, like
I
that
know that
song,
song.
oh my
I don't
gosh, when I was like going through the thick of it, when I was just like, I felt lost, I felt alone, I felt broken. Um, I used to listen to that song and it says things like, I'm gonna hold myself up this time. Like I'm not gonna have someone else hold me up. And then it talks about, to be loved, um, just for exactly who I am. And something clicked one day and I was like, I am the one that can love me exactly who I am. Because when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, for, my husband to love me, or maybe it's not him, maybe it's someone else, or, and like just looking. Instead, I was like, wait, me, hello, I can be the one to love myself exactly how I need to be loved. And it just like switched everything for me. And that song, I still listen to it and I'm like, I can go back to that girl 2.5 years ago and just like know exactly how she feels. So I totally relate to everything you said. It's such a vulnerable place to be, and I feel like so many women are in that place or have been in that place and can relate to it, because we're I mean, not I'm sure that there's like lots of confident women out there that aren't looking for validation, but I feel like a lot of women are looking for validation, especially because of social media. You post a selfie, you post a picture, a sexy picture, and all those comments, those are all validation. Those are all, you getting that praise. You're feeling something, you're feeling some kind of void inside yourself, and it feels good. So I feel like a lot of women can relate to this topic. And I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you for taking that leap and like really changing that because so many women get stuck in that forever. And you actually had the courage to be to not to know to recognize the signs and then know that you wanted to do something about it because you didn't want to feel that anxious attachment anymore. You didn't want to be the chaser anymore. You wanted to be loved for exactly who you were. And that's a brave thing to do. So brave. So great job. I commend you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's not even just like relationships, it's like even business.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
talk about like when I was thinking about my like success, like, like if I'm always looking for that external validation, like when I first started coaching, I was always looking, I had anxiety all the time. So I was like,
Mhm.
did I do a good job? Did I not do right? She hasn't messaged me. Like, is she okay? Like that was all the time. And I was like, how can this feel safe for them if I'm always like that? Like,
That's so true.
so it happens. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're like always doing that with relationships, like how are you doing that in other ways in your life? And for me,
Yeah.
that really showed up in the biggest way was like, and right then, being yourself online and everything, like that's like a whole different
Mm.
topic. So it's like you do it everywhere. And its question is like, right, like notice when it's showing up. And I
Yeah.
guess it's being hard on yourself when it does come up, just kind of notice it and just be like, okay, like this is interesting about myself. Like I didn't know I did this. And this kind of, like again, kind of going back to the kindness, like just being
Mhm.
gentle and kind, but just notice it when it comes
Yeah.
up.
I think what you said is so important. We actually did this in QRE, remember, like in the very beginning when it was like, what's your relationship, with your partner? And then you like look at your relationship with your business or you look at your relationship with your family and all of them seem to be similar, in some way. And it's like, well, however your relationship is with your like in your romantic relationships could very well be how you treat your business too. So you're right. There's so much overlap. If you're anxious and you're looking for that validation, you're going to be the same way in your business. So once you become secure in yourself and you learn how to find that safety in here and you don't need any external validation, you know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know what your why is, it's not going to matter which relationship or which business you're in, you're going to show up the same every single time because you're secure with who you are. So that work, all of that internal, personal development work is so important because of that, because not only is it going to help you like in your partnership with, your partner, your marriage or whatever it is, but also how you show up at work, also how you show up as a business owner, how you show up as a friend, how you show up as a daughter. It affects everything. So, such a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, an important note because sometimes we just forget, like, oh wow, and that's like another aha moment that I had was like, wow, this, shows up everywhere, like, ooh, like with your
Yes.
body, with everything, like, and it's
Yes.
like, like, how do I? It's like
That's a
looking
good
at
point.
everything, and again, it could be overwhelming, but just yeah, just like I think just noticing, just
Yeah.
being aware is like the biggest thing, like just awareness in general.
Yeah. And noticing like how your attachments affect like your relationships, like that
Yeah.
secure, anxious, what were
Oh
the other
yeah.
ones? Yeah, like all of those.
This attachment avoidant, anxious avoidant. Yeah, I can have like a whole conversation about that. That's like a
Yeah,
whole nother topic. But
exactly.
yeah,
But
it comes when you're trying to be right, like somebody else, right? And when
mhm.
you aren't getting the love,
Yeah.
then your anxiousness comes out, or an avoidance. I was more of an anxious
Yeah,
an
me too.
anxious person. So
Me too. I'm like, "Why aren't you calling me back? What's going
yeah.
on? Are you mad at me?" You know?
That's how that's how it was in the beginning of like my husband and I relationship. It was like, oh my gosh. I sat down and I was like, I need to like do something about this because I was like, if I don't, that's kind of what I really did. We were both like, I was super anxious. He was like, because of that, he was like more of like avoidant
Mhm.
type. And so he was driving me crazy. And not like him. He wasn't doing actually really much. It was just like my own
Yeah.
perception, like what was happening. And so I was like, I always felt this way in every relationship. And I said, enough. And I told him, I said, I need to do some healing work. He had no idea what I was doing. So he just was like, okay, Elizabeth. I said, I need to do some healing work. And in my head, I was like, he's either going to come with me or he's not.
Yeah.
Like, because I said, it's either going to be with him or it's going to be with somebody else. But either way, like, I'm
Yeah.
going to have this safe, secure, like, I'm going to work to have, and I know it had something to do with me. Like, I never
Mhm.
blamed him. It was always like,
Yeah.
if there's something going on with me, like, I need to let go,
That's so
which is,
great.
which is the hardest thing
Yeah.
I found working with women. Every woman, or not just woman, but, I've only worked with women, but every person I've worked with, that was the biggest overall difficult thing, is to just let go
Mm,
and just like
absolutely.
whatever's meant to happen,
Yeah.
which is really hard.
Yeah.
And
That's
um
for sure. I still
yeah.
work on that all the time. I was gonna say I used to be so jealous of my best friend like back in high school because she never cared like if a guy called her back or she's like whatever they'll call when they call, and I'm like what like how can you just be so relaxed about it, or she'll be like like I like him but I really don't care, like she just like didn't care, like she let everything go, she let everything slide off her back, she wasn't like super anxious about anything. And now that I think about it, my husband's kind of like that too. And they're both Sagittariuses, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. And I'm like the opposite of both of them, but they're like the closest people to me, so it's just interesting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I'm more, I also have difficulty letting go. As I always tell like people, or like people I work with, I'm like, it's like, I remember I was working with one girl and she's like, I don't know why I can't just like figure this out. And I'm like, you and everybody else, like,
yeah,
like it's not like an issue you have. Like
right.
it's just part of life. Like in anything, it's scary. It's something, especially if it's new,
Yeah.
and and it's just something you consciously, like, I remember just like sitting and being like, I don't have control of this. Like
Mhm.
I only have so much control.
Yeah.
And so I was like, whatever's going to happen. I remember my coach telling me this, and it really changed my perspective. She was like, Elizabeth, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And
Yeah.
so she's like, though, actually, the more you're trying to control, you're you're also blocking the beautiful things that are actually meant to come from this relationship. She's like, you can't do one or the other. You can't block the bad, but also like,
That's
receive the good.
advice.
She's like, if you're trying to control while you are trying to, you're just prolonging what's really just inevitably going to happen. She's like, you're also blocking the great things from happening.
Right. And
And
you're
so when
just
she said it, I was like, yeah, I was like, I have to let go. And like for this relationship to, because it was kind of like, we're getting to a point where I was like, it can't continue the way it was. And I was like, so for it to grow, like it's either right, I'm just prolonging it, for meant to
Mhm.
not work out, or I have to let go. And so I was like, I need to just see what happens. We've all gone through difficult things. And I was like, I can do it again if it's necessary, and just let go.
Surrender. Surrender,
Yeah.
and what will be will be. That's one of my affirmations is, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Everything is unfolding as it should, because I truly believe that. And with everything in my life, it's like I've heard so many times, especially by Gabby Bernstein, um, you know, it doesn't matter the how. The how doesn't matter. It's you have where you want to go. Like I'm going to have a coaching business. How I'm going to get there, I have no idea yet, but if I take steps and I work towards it a little bit every day or every week, I'm going to get there. So the how does not matter, like that's the part we want to control. How exactly am I going to do it? And you try to plan everything out and then, it goes to shit and you're like, "Wait, why did I even plan anything?" It's just a matter of trust and believing that it will unfold as it should, and really just allowing God or the universe or whatever you believe in to just, release the control and release that pressure and responsibility to have it all figured out, because you don't, it's going to happen as it should. So So many great points that you brought up. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Can you tell everyone where to find you? I'd love for people to explore your Instagram and your social media and see all of your beautiful posts.
Yeah, so my main page isn't really like the main place I show up is Instagram. I'm just starting TikTok, and
Okay.
it's like a work in progress.
Uh, I hear you.
So yeah, it's not something that, again, I'm getting used to it. So you can just follow me on Instagram at the Elizabeth Adams. It was different, but now I got married, so I changed it.
Okay, so what is it?
So yeah, it's just the like THE and then Elizabeth Adams.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and link it in the show notes too. So anyone who wants to give Elizabeth a follow and check out her healing journey or work with her one on one, she is a coach and she helps women find that self-love piece and beyond, all of your potential that becomes apparent once you're able to let go and surrender and start fresh, like you said. I'm so excited for your future and I can't wait to continue watching you grow. And thank you so much for joining me and my audience today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Goodbye.